Donald Trump wants you to think that he is a big, strong, tough guy when we know nothing could be further from the truth. Not only because Donald Trump is personally and morally weak, but because he's in a state of cognitive and physical decline. We see it every day, every time he opens his mouth, every time he takes those tiny little fingers of his to Truth Social. We see the mental decline, but the physical decline was on full display as he was boarding Air Force One on his way to the Middle East to pretend that he was the biggest part of a peace deal in which he doesn't actually understand. But what was caught on camera was Donald Trump's decline, him trying to hide his collapse. And we're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into Trump hiding his collapse while getting on Air Force One, I want to start with what he had to say right before he climbed those stairs.
Papers and your own networks, everybody's very excited about this moment in time. So I'll see you on the plane. I think you're traveling with us, but this is a very special event. There are 500,000 people yesterday and today in Israel, and also the Muslim and Arab countries are all cheering. Everybody's cheering at one time. That's never happened before. Usually if you have one cheering, the other isn't. The other is the opposite. This is the first time everybody is amazed and they're thrilled, and it's an honor to be involved, and we're going to have an amazing time, and it's going to be something that's never happened before. So I'll see you on.
Oh yes, it's going to be amazing and everyone loves you. Is this the most out of touch language you could possibly use to describe the end of a genocide and the still continuation of an apartheid state? I think it's important to keep in mind that Donald Trump has not given a single bit of consideration to the suffering of the Palestinian people outside of saying that he's going to put a gold statue of himself in the Holy Land and that him and Jared Kushner are going to be building the Trump Hotel Gaza. That is what they are focused on right now. That is why Donald Trump is so excited, because he thinks everybody loves him and he thinks he gets a new hotel and he's going to say this is a legacy marker and that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. But no, it's just Trump being Trump and lacking humanity for what has taken place over the past 2 years, which before we get into Trump trying and struggling to get on that plane and hiding his health crisis, I want to hear from Senator Chris Murphy, who described the holistic view we need of this moment.
I know you have a lot of differences with the president, but on this, is this a clear win?
Well, it's really important that we have a ceasefire. It's important that these hostages are coming home. And I congratulate the negotiators on getting this done. There's no politics about this moment, as you're going to see some very tearful reunions tomorrow, hopefully, as these hostages are released. But you watch those devastating images of what Gaza looks like today, and it's both heartbreaking and infuriating that this deal has been on the table for over a year. And it's been Benjamin Netanyahu, because of his political considerations domestically, trying to protect himself, has frustrated the ability to find peace and to get the hostages home far before today. So, again, this will be a good week. But as you have reported, there are big issues to come. Israel is not fully pulling out of Gaza. There is no clear path forward on what the security and governance force is going to look like inside that country. There's certainly a risk of hostilities beginning again if we don't build on this first phase and come to some decisions about what Gaza looks like heading into next year.
And President Biden wasn't willing to put this kind of pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu. President Trump has. Your point is that's got to be sustained pressure to see this all the way through. Am I understanding you?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think the barrier here has been Netanyahu, and Netanyahu is only going to move if he thinks that his relationship with the United States is at risk. And so clearly the pressure is going to have to continue to be strong and constant.
There is still an ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people being perpetrated by the state of Israel. That does not change with a peace deal that we don't know whether or not it will hold, or what really Donald Trump intends to do to make sure that it does. If he's not getting his peace prize, which I don't think it's going to come, Donald, sorry, I don't think it came obviously this year, next year either, then really what is his incentive? And so that's what worries me so much, especially as we have a president in clear decline. Because as Donald was trying to get on the plane, you can see he was having some struggles with his little, his umbrella there, really couldn't figure that one out, not strong enough to close it. literally had to hand it off to someone as he was fiddling, like trying to hide the fact that he's too weak to close an umbrella. And I'm going to read a tweet that just stuck out after this video went so viral for showing how weak and ineffective Donald Trump is, even at closing an umbrella. If Joe Biden could not close his umbrella, there would have been roughly 1,000 think pieces in the newspapers of America questioning whether he was capable of discharging the duties of President of the United States. Now, certainly Donald Trump feebly walking up the stairs and not being able to close his umbrella is not the worst thing that we've ever seen in terms of his cognitive and physical decline. But I think if we don't cover all of these stories, we are doing a tremendous disservice. Ben Meiselas at Midas Touch always talks about this, that he and the fellas over there, the great people working at Midas Touch, they will find every clip, they will find every moment, they will find every instance of Donald Trump clearly in decline and try to blow it up as much as possible, because we should. The mainstream media refuses to even acknowledge the fact that Donald Trump is in very deep decline, and unless we bring attention to it, they are not going to cover it. It was independent media, folks on YouTube, talking about Epstein during the campaign. Carolyn Levitt had to address the splotchy makeup all over Donald Trump's hands, not because CNN was covering it, but it was because of folks like myself, Adam Mockler, Brian Tyler Cohen, Midas Touch, The Bulwark, who were pointing it out. The only one in mainstream media was Lawrence O'Donnell. He's the only one who is consistently talking about Donald Trump's decline. So yes, even when Donald Trump can barely and can't actually close an umbrella, when the collapse of his health is so clear, I am going to talk about it. I think that it is important. I think we need to start having these conversations on our terms. Let's not let the right define which argument we're going to have, which narrative we're going to go with. We got to stop being on defense. Let's go on offense. Let's get in the muck. Let's call them out. Let's point out the bullshit. We started with someone who did that. We're going to continue to listen to someone who did that. It's Senator Chris Murphy right here.
Now, let me ask you about the other diplomacy that needs to happen just up the street, frankly. You have called on Democrats to stiffen their spines to stand up to the President of the United States. At what point, though, does this pain become too much in terms of the cost of the shutdown? And when are Democrats going to show some flexibility on this? Well,
I listened to the vice president, and he's just not living in reality. Because there's no negotiations happening right now because Republicans are boycotting those negotiations. They are boycotting negotiations to reopen the government because they are desperate to raise premiums on people in this country by 75% in order to finance their tax cut for the wealthy. Their only priority is protecting the billionaire class and the corporate class. The other reason the House of Representatives isn't in town right now trying to reopen the government, because they are about to have enough votes to pass a resolution mandating the release of the Epstein files. So J.D. Vance and Donald Trump's #1 priority is protecting billionaires, protecting corporations, and raising premiums, raising healthcare costs by 75% on American citizens. So yes, I think that Democrats should say, if you want our votes for a budget, it can't be a corrupt budget. It can't be a budget that is going to devastate the lives of middle-class families in this country in order to protect and reward billionaires. That's a pretty reasonable request.
You're talking about the premiums that will increase an average of about $1,000, I believe, for those who are using some of these.
Well, that's the average, but in Connecticut, some families will see a $25,000 increase in premiums. And again, in order to afford a $270,000 tax cut for the richest families in this country.
Because also it wasn't dealt with earlier when Democrats were in leadership here. But you did hear the vice president say when it came to health care, the administration's open to a discussion. We want to lower insurance premiums. That was a quote there. Did you hear any chance at an opening?
I mean, there are no negotiations happening, in large part because the House of Representatives isn't even here. They've been on an unprecedented 5-week recess because they do not want to risk their billionaire tax cut. And they also don't want to talk about the president's lawlessness. I mean, that's the other thing that we have to talk about in this budget. If we're going to fund this administration, we need to fund an administration that is paying attention to the law. I would be a sucker, Margaret, to vote for a budget that allows the president to then go and spend money only in states that are run by Republicans and spend no money in states that are run by Democrats.
But this is just the 7-week deal that we're talking about at this point, the short-term
Correct. The
funding.
the long-term budget that we pass ultimately
Right.
has to require that the president not engage in mass-scale corruption. But a short-term agreement, certainly is not going to fix all of the problems that exist right now in the way the president is running the country.
But you have been critical in the past of the tactic of choosing to shut down the government. You were in 2018. You were back in 2013 when it was a discussion over health care. This is what you said in 2018.
The future of the American healthcare system was a legitimate public policy issue, as is the security of our borders. But we shouldn't be having the discussion amidst a government shutdown, trying to use our nation's security and all of these federal workers and the work that they do as hostages.
Aren't you doing today exactly what you were criticizing then?
No, that was a fight over sort of the long-term structure of the American healthcare system. This is an emergency. In about a month, premiums are going to go up by 75%. And we have to make a decision whether this budget is going to allow for that to happen or to stop it. What is happening in Chicago right now is an emergency.
Democrats have a real opportunity right now with this shutdown to not only show just how ineffective a governing body is when it is governed by Republicans, but also to show that they're tough, that we are not going to cave, that we are not going to hand over a strongly worded letter and allow Chuck Schumer to throw us under the bus again. No, Democrats are actually going to step up and say, hey, you want to call this a negotiation? That's what I keep hearing from Republicans. Negotiation, negotiation, negotiation. A policy negotiation. Healthcare is not a policy. That's a human right. And the richest country in the world, with people who carry around pocket constitutions, who hump flags and pretend they're patriots, if you really loved America, you would love that America has more success than any country in the world. So let's invest it into our people rather than letting it be collected at the top. Let's invest in Medicare for all. Let's invest in universal pre-K. Let's invest in universal childcare. Let's make buses in New York City fast and free for an election that's coming up with our good friend Zohran Mamdani. Let's actually make this country great for everybody. So I think Donald Trump is happy to throw on a hat and buy from China and then sell to his idiot cheap followers, but we can actually do that. This shutdown is an opportunity to not look weak, to talk about our priorities, and to actually deliver a real fight. So please, Democrats in the House and the Senate, be talking every day and be fighting all the time. We are certainly going to call for that on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in another way, you can support the show by checking out the show in a little different place. I am now doing videos with the Bulwark on the weekends. We're doing some weekend programming over there. Maybe different formats of video, having fun, but you can click right there for one of my latest videos with the Bulwark. We're having a lot of fun. And if you go over and leave a nice comment, support me, it goes a long way, and I'll really appreciate it. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. Until next time, I'll see you soon.